A volcanic eruption threatens a beautiful mountain town. Can a heroic couple save it? We find out in Dante's Peak, one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Dante's Peak is another one of the high-tech disaster movies that have been erupting from Hollywood recently, and it's a pretty skillful one with good special effects and engaging chemistry between the stars. But I, for one, am getting so tired of this formula that I spent more time predicting what would happen next than I spent time caring about what was happening now. After ominous signs that a dormant volcano was about to blow, Pierce Brosnan of the U.S. Geological Survey warns the local townspeople.
All I'm talking about is that you consider alerting the town to the possibility of an evacuation.
What Mr. Dalton here doesn't realize is that if Elliot Blair gets the idea that there's some kind of problem here, he's going to take his $18 million, his 800 jobs, and he's going to evacuate.
Also, in every movie like this, the scientist who sounds the warning is always hushed up by his conservative superior who doesn't want to alarm people unnecessarily.
Another 48 hours will tell the tale. You get a grip.
And, of course, there's always a romantic subplot, this time between Brosnan and Linda Hamilton as the village mayor. She comes equipped complete with kids, a dog, and a gray-haired mother-in-law who, of course, refuses to leave her mountainside home.
But you people came up here right after Mountainside Hills went nuts. There's nothing going on then. There's nothing going on here now.
The visual and sound effects are impressive as the mountain blows, destroying the town. Dante's Peak follows the formula for disaster movies so faithfully that even the dog turns up right on cue. I was saying, about time for the dog. There he was. But it is well made, and I like the way Brosnan and Hamilton tried to be fairly realistic in their performances instead of going over the top and trying for extreme melodrama. But quite frankly, I don't know how many more times Hollywood can make this movie. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we have the worried potential investor, so now it's about time for the boss to turn up and blame the hero for stirring up trouble. And then, isn't there going to be a granny somewhere?
Yeah, you would think that there would be a little more pride in the screenwriters. The picture's going to get made because the special effects are good these days, and in this film, very good. I mean, the flowing lava is exciting to watch.
Yes.
The volcanic ash snowstorm, terrific. The devastation of the town afterward, whatever's being done there,
very effective.
Very well done.
Yes.
Why don't the screenplay writers have as much pride as the special effects artists and say, you know what, we'll have to have the arc of the formula, but let's write it smarter. Now, you said something about the mayor. Okay, now, she's not credible as the mayor. Mayors don't wear short skirts and look like Linda Hamilton. Remember the town we come from.
Oh, maybe they do in the mountains.
I don't think so. But the point is, why not write one scene? Why not write one scene where she shows that she could credibly be the mayor? Why make the boss dumb? Why not make the boss smart? Why not make the investor who wants to pull out smart too? This is the part I don't get. It's at the screenwriter level that this film loses.
Why not make the dog dumb?
Okay.
So he doesn't turn up when he's supposed to.
Or real smart and get the heck out of town.
Okay.
All right, next movie. And our next movie is called SubUrbia, and it's a tough and funny slice of life set among the world of young adults who have nothing to do but hang around a local suburban convenience store and act like they're still in high school. Their main attitude is that they're unfulfilled and teed off at the world, and they get a jolt when one of their old classmates comes back to town and he's become a minor rock star, complete with limousine and cute publicist in tow.
You know, she works for the record company and takes care of interviews, and, you know, we were actually just doing an interview, and Erica said she'd like to see burned fields.
That's Jace Bartok as the rock star, and Parker Posey is the publicist who is drawn to the local Air Force dropout, played by Nikki Katt.
I think I'm rich and you hate me.
Now, how the hell would you know what I think? You don't know me.
I'd like to.
The presence of the rock star also manages to drive a wedge between 2 other hangers-on.
You know, I mean, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does that make a sound?
Of course it does.
You know, that is my worst fear. Making a sound and no one hears it.
Mine too.
Wait a minute.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, you make art, and you want people to see it.
Wait, what happened to the tree? Yeah, but that doesn't mean that your tree is not artistic if no one cuts it down.
Jeff likes to argue for the sake of arguing.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And self-hating violence is in the air, too, in this portrait of hostile, empty lives as the Air Force dropout plans to get even with the Pakistani owner of the convenience store over a previous argument.
You don't think that after they called the cops on me, her and Mohammed had a nice laugh?
No.
No?
Well, I disagree.
SubUrbia was directed by Richard Linklater, who made Slacker, Dazed and Confused, and Before Sunrise. And he has a very good sense of his own generation, how and what they talk about. Certainly the subject matter of knocking the suburbs is not new. But the movie SubUrbia works because of Linklater's direction and the script, the tough script by Eric Bogosian, so dead on that the film plays like an all-night howl of despair. I do recommend SubUrbia.
So do I, and I love Bogosian's script touches, such as the speeches the Pakistani store owner has, where he predicts what's going to happen to him in 2 years and what's going to happen to them in 2 years.
That's a real powerful put-down.
That's devastating. And the performances are all good. Most of the actors are fairly unfamiliar. Parker Posey is turning up a lot these days.
In independent films.
She's beginning to grow on me. I liked her in this film. But they work together so that even though we realize at some point this began in life as a stage play, nevertheless, it does seem like a real corner where these guys really do hang out.
I want to comment on that. If I hadn't seen Bogosian's credit at in the film, I would not necessarily have known it began as a stage play. It feels real, and that's where the director comes in, and maybe Bogosian made some alterations. I never saw the play. But, that's rarely happening, to see a play transformed to film and be this natural. It's a real good work.
It's a real good film. When we come back, Fran Drescher from The Nanny is the Beautician, and Timothy Dalton is the Beast.
You know, Sonny Bono shaved off his mustache, and now he's a congressman. Now, let's see.
I don't think it looks right.
You gotta move the mole. Class, the mole always goes over the left lip. This way it balances the cigarette. See?
That's Fran Drescher from TV's The Nanny in a scene from the new movie The Beautician and the Beast. She plays a beauty school instructor from Queens who finds her life turned upside down when she's mistakenly hired to become a tutor for the 4 children of the despotic ruler of an obscure Central European country. The dictator is played by Timothy Dalton, and he's not amused when she's late for her own ceremonial welcome.
It's just that it's so dark in this castle, which is great for atmosphere, but it's hell for putting on liquid liner, which, frankly, I can put on in a crosstown bus sitting over the motor. But, of course, that wouldn't interest you because I am an educator, and no one really cares what an educator looks like. Still, what's it like outside? Because I was thinking about wearing sweat, and I know...
Make up, be quiet.
I heard.
The new arrival turns out to be popular with the citizens of Slovetia, maybe because she is distracting Dalton from his main occupation, which is making their lives miserable.
I always wanted to do that.
The national budget hasn't been balanced in years, so she tells him she'll cut corners at a diplomatic reception. She starts in the kitchen.
It's alive.
Of course it's live. You want it fresh, no?
Not that fresh.
Oh. You want for party? Then you must show me how to prepare.
Fran Drescher is famous for her unusual voice, which some people find annoying, and I must admit that I am among their number, but at least in The Beautician and the Beast, she doesn't unleash the full power of her laugh, which I find one of the most unpleasant noises I've ever experienced. Her strange vocal qualities aside, Fran Drescher sort of grew on me during this movie. I like the way her character was utterly fearless, or maybe clueless, in the face of danger. Her acting style is sort of like Mae West or Groucho Marx's. She has no connection with the other characters. She just plants herself and delivers one-liners. But some of them were funny, although, unfortunately, not quite enough for me to recommend this movie.
I had the exact same reaction. Her voice doesn't bother me, but I had the same reaction, and it was almost like the film broke into 3 parts. The third act worked, and it was funny. I don't know what happened. Did somebody come in and rewrite and just handle that section to finish the picture, and they were funny? I don't know how to explain it, but I was not enjoying the film. I thought she wasn't aiming very high. She was just obviously redoing the nanny character. I was kind of disappointed in that. I thought she could have put some kind of movie spin on it so that we don't think we're just watching enlarged TV. But then at the end, it's funny. So, you know what? Go to a multiplex, see another picture, and walk in for the last third of this picture.
Okay, that would be a great line to run in the ads. Okay, coming up next, Boys in the Hood director John Singleton tackles an ugly chapter in American history, lynching blacks in the South in Rosewood.
That's a scene from our next film, and it's a powerful piece of work. John Singleton's Rosewood, based on a scandalous true story of the lynching of property-owning blacks in Florida just after World War I. Ving Rhames, so powerful in Pulp Fiction, plays a war veteran who stumbles upon a black southern village that is an object of active hate by neighboring white bigots and Ku Klux Klansmen. The story of Rosewood gets rolling when a married white woman falsely claims that a mysterious black man attacked her. Actually, it was a white man, her lover.
He was so big. He's so black, that boy.
She says she was raped.
Ving Rhames, the stranger on horseback, becomes almost a mythic presence in the town. Early on, he tries to buy land right across the street from the complex white shop owner in this virtual all-black community. But as trouble escalates, he reconsiders. He doesn't want to get lynched. The white merchant is played by John Voight.
That's right. I got you figured, man. You're one of them loud boys. Big talk. Figure you can say anything to a white man as long as you start out saying, with all due respect. First sign of trouble, you're ducking your head running.
Sheriff Michael Rooker has a warning for a community leader played by Don Cheadle from Devil in a Blue Dress.
Won't you be a good boy and go visit some of your other relatives for a little while, huh? I am trying to help you here. They're all over there right now getting all full of liquor and making nooses.
Rosewood stands out in its depiction of some of the most repellent scenes of mob violence, not glamorizing the Klan like the John Grisham movies, but presenting much of the brutal reality.
I know y'all. I was midwife to more than half of you, and some of you younger. I done seen you come up from babies to now. Ain't nothing gonna come of this. It don't make sense.
And let me re-emphasize, that's what I like most about Rosewood. It doesn't back away from violence or romanticize it. We see ugliness in close-up in this picture. Now, about 2 years ago, I asked Spike Lee to tell me what films about the black experience in America weren't being made by black filmmakers. He said films about slavery because it's too embarrassing for blacks to confront that reality. Well, John Singleton's Rosewood does that in a chapter that is set just 60 years after slaves were supposedly given freedom. Rosewood is occasionally melodramatic with some generic action sequences, but at its core, it is tremendously effective because you can't deny the truth of the horror it presents. I recommend Rosewood highly.
Boy, I do too, Gene, and there were two things I especially liked. First of all, the real fear that these people felt, because you don't have cardboard heroes stepping forward and doing wonderful things. You have a black woman who's afraid to say what she really saw. You have a white shopkeeper. These people are schooled in keeping quiet and not causing trouble. And the second thing is the economic jealousy, because this black town is owned by the people who live there. They're prospering. They own their houses, and the people of the white city are very jealous. And there's the wonderful line of dialogue where the guy says, well, that black guy, he has a piano. Why don't I have a piano? And his friend says, well, you can't play the piano. And he says, yeah, but why does he have one and I don't?
No. The other thing I want to talk about that it shows is how racism is taught. We have a motif that runs throughout this picture is the ugliest guy in town, the biggest hater in town, teaching his son, and we see him. Now, this is how you learn how to make a noose. See, it's very specific.
Look down into this grave and see these dead bodies.
And see that these are animals, not human beings. In other words, there's the time taken in this story to show literally how racism is passed along.
That relationship between the father and the son has a very interesting payoff at the end of the movie. Yes, this is a really terrific film.
And the screenplay, again, I keep mentioning writers on this week, the screenplay of this picture is what, again, is distinguished, because these are scenes that had to be created.
Okay, that's going to be opening around the country in 2 weeks. Okay, Rosewood. When we come back, a love story about the creator of Conan the Barbarian. A pulp fiction writer named Robert E. Howard created the vast fantasy world of Conan the Barbarian without ever venturing too far from his home in a small Texas town. It was all right there in his head, which was both a blessing and a curse, and a touching new love story named The Whole Wide World tells his story. The movie stars Renee Zellweger, who was so good in Jerry Maguire, as Noveline Price, a small-town girl who dreams of being a writer and wants to meet Robert Howard because he's the only real writer in their sleepy corner of Texas. He's played by Vincent D'Onofrio.
A year ago, I saw you in Akpatana with that swine. I don't forget faces, all women's figures.
The movie is set in the 1930s, where Howard bangs away at his typewriter for half a penny a word and then boasts of his energy and creativity to the novice writer, who has quickly become his girlfriend.
Well, your stories sell, so people must want to read about muscle men who wrestle monsters and girls in skimpy dresses who don't do a darn thing but sit around and watch.
Oh. You stick with me, girl. I'll teach you about writing. And man.
But Bob Howard is a very strange man, fixated on his mother and unable to deal as well with flesh and blood girls as Conan the Barbarian does with fictional ones. Eventually, Noveline's patience runs out.
Bob Howard, if you do not take some initiative, you are going to end up a miserable old man, sitting at home with no friends and no life.
The Whole Wide World is based on a memoir written decades later by that young woman who wanted to set the record straight. There was a big resurgence of interest in Robert E. Howard in the 1970s after Arnold Schwarzenegger made the two Conan the Barbarian movies, but Howard was generally described as loony and a loner. Well, he was a little loony and he was a little bit of a loner, according to the memoir and the movie, but he was also a dreamer and a romantic. The movie is bittersweet and charming, and it grew on me. I liked it.
It didn't grow on me, Roger. I felt I was watching two halves of a story jammed together and not integrated well enough. The sweet romance, which is lovely, and the teaching of writing techniques is a wonderful thing. It's the kind of thing I always want to see in pictures. Let them do something, not just love each other and that be the whole thing. And then the dark side of Robert Howard, which is fascinating, but almost pops in there out of the blue for me, and I just
Well, it popped in out of the blue for Noveline, too. That's the whole point of the story. She meets this guy and finds out that he has a dark side and a secret life that she can't deal with, and yet at the same time she has nothing but warm memories of the relationship they had. I think that duality is what the movie is about.
Of course it's what it's about. Maybe I'm asking this picture to be longer in a strange way, because I think if they dealt more with his dark side, didn't you feel it was an abrupt conclusion to the film? It does come up
Well,
quickly.
of course, his life had an abrupt conclusion,
I know.
too.
Okay. Coming up next, our video pick of the week, a movie I just feel tested successfully, I might add, with a classroom full of fifth graders. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Let's see it.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Raisinets. At the movies or anytime, Raisinets.
My video pick this week is Fly Away Home, Carol Ballard's family drama about a young New Zealand girl whose divorced mother dies in a car wreck, and then she's sent to her father's home in Canada, where she finds in wildlife a way to heal and learn some self-reliance. Jeff Daniels, in a beautiful performance, plays the father. Anna Paquin, an Oscar winner for her role on the piano, has the role of a daughter who plays mother to a flock of baby geese.
You've got to feed them every 2 hours.
Okay.
And they need a lot of attention.
A problem arises when the girl realizes she's going to have to teach the goslings how to fly south for the winter. To do this, she has to fly a small airplane to force the young geese to follow her. Great photography here by master cinematographer Caleb Deschanel. Now, I like this movie so much, I decided to take a bunch of fifth graders from my old grammar school in Chicago to see it.
It's like telling us a message that you don't have to feel lonely, even if all your parents dies.
The kids also identified strongly with the one goose named Igor that's left behind.
I feel like Igor when I'm alone and nobody will let me come with them or play with them and stuff.
Fly Away Home, my video pick of the week. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs down for the volcano adventure Dante's Peak. Only the special effects work really well. 2 thumbs up for Richard Linklater's Put Down of Suburbia, fine dialogue writing by Eric Bogosian. 2 thumbs down for The Beautician and the Beast, with Fran Drescher doing a big screen version of her TV role as the nanny. 2 thumbs up for Rosewood, John Singleton's hard look at a Southern lynch mob after World War I. Credit a fine screenplay by Gregory Poirier. And finally, a split vote on The Whole Wide World with Renee Zellweger. For me, the story broke apart in 2. Roger felt the connection. So the 2 pictures we like are Rosewood, opening in 2 weeks, and Suburbia from Richard Linklater.
That's right, and that's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Absolute Power, starring Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman, and the story of a thief who learns a deadly White House secret, and Fools Rush In, a romantic comedy starring Matthew Perry from Friends. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.